represent the stars and stripes. I am a patriot, a true American. I am a champion, yes, and that's on everything. I will protect my home, I will defend, fighting tooth and nail to the bitter end. I don't play to lose, nah, I play to win. Rain, sleet, or snow in the wingland. What? I don't play to lose. Let me say it again. I play to win. What it is tradition. I'm in the game, playing like Brady. 10 soldiers deep in the field, no Navy. Riding for my soldiers and they riding for me. No matter where I touch down, it's a TD. 2 hands up, yep. Field goal.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Patsnation Nightly. I guess without the nightly, we're at 11:20 a.m. right now, but we obviously had to do a show because of the news that Mike Vrabel is the newest head coach of the New England Patriots. But before that, my name is Zach Ventola, joined as always by Ben Belford-Peltzman. Ben, how are you doing on this fine morning?
Yeah, kind of a busy morning so far, and it's kind of hard to believe that we're only 7 days past the Patriots winning against the Bills and the fan base going crazy because they won against the Bills. That was just last weekend. And 7 days later, the Patriots have officially made the fastest head coaching hire by any team since the then Washington Redskins hired Ron Rivera in 2019, 2 days after the season. So, Mike Vrabel is the 16th franchise head coach for the Patriots. Another former player, right, John Mayo, hired exactly 1 year ago today, 365 days ago, to lead this team back to where it used to be, or somewhat of what it used to be. And he promised the team to do better than 4 wins, like Bill Belichick did in his last season, 2 years ago. And that did not happen. And for me, it stems from his inability to be a good coach off the field. Not all of it has to be what the product on the field. We understand as fans, as someone who covers a team, that you do not have the best players. You do not have the most experienced coaches around them, and you were dealt a pretty bad situation, John Mayo. And his inability, though, to deal with the media, to deal with players talking to the media, to deal with everything that happens off the field was pretty inexcusable, even as a rookie head coach. And a majority of the reason why he was fired was because of his inability to handle everything off the field. So now the Patriots choose someone who is a veteran, right? A veteran head coach, someone who's coached for the Houston Texans. He was a linebackers and defensive line coach for the Texans, then got hired in Tennessee in 2018, where he took the Titans to the playoffs 3 out of his 6 years, won the Associated Press Head Coach of the Year in 2021, and he was surprisingly fired after the 2023 season, after 2 seasons of mediocre play in Tennessee. So the Patriots opted to go with Vrabel, and Zach, my first question to you is they only interviewed 4 coaches: Pep Hamilton, Byron Leftwich, Mike Vrabel, and Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson's wasn't even in person, and Mike Vrabel's wasn't even at the facility. And so, it was a quick process, and I've been saying for the last week, I really wish they gave Ben Johnson a closer look. But again, what do I know? I'm not the ones in the meetings. I'm just hoping Mike Vrabel brings more stability to the Patriots as a veteran, right, head coach, and I believe that he would do just that.
Yeah, look, when Mayo was fired and Robert Kraft had that press conference, one of the things that he said, which stood out for me, was that the Patriots were going to be interviewing a lot of candidates. That's what he said. He said they're going to interview a lot of people, and they would interview basically anybody who they thought could potentially bring them back to their former glory. They requested interviews with 5 candidates. They interviewed 4 candidates, as you said, 4 due to Aaron Glenn denying the request. And 2 of those interviews, let's be honest, were complete shams, right? They just had to bypass the Rooney Rule, which it's unfortunate that that's the way that it has to work. But look, Pep Hamilton and Byron Leftwich were never going to get this head coaching job. But even Ben Johnson was never going to get this head coaching job. It was all week reported that the Patriots would have very heavy interest in Vrabel, and if Ben Johnson blew them away in his interview, they were open to it. That is a very interesting way of wording reports, and that basically says, yeah, it's Vrabel. We're just interviewing Ben Johnson just in case maybe something happens, and even if that does happen, we're still going to likely hire Mike Vrabel. And that's pretty much how it shaped out. There were reports that Ben Johnson did have a very impressive interview, and then 2 days later, early in the morning, Ben Johnson is not the head coach of the New England Patriots. Mike Vrabel is. So, look, it's been shaping up to be this way, not only all week, I would say for the last month, with the potential of Mayo getting, Mayo getting fired, and then of course Vrabel would be the top candidate, a guy that Kraft has familiarity with, of course, former Patriot player, Patriots Hall of Fame member. It's not surprising to me. I would have liked for them to take this process more seriously. I mean, they haven't had really a true head coaching search in 25 years. They got Belichick, and then they immediately had that successor plan with Mayo, and then they interview essentially 2 candidates this time around, and the whole time they knew who they were going with. It was just, I guess, precaution to interview the other one in Ben Johnson, and then Leftwich and Hamilton, who they had to interview due to the Rooney Rule. So I think Mayo's a great, not Mayo, jeez. I think Vrabel is a great hire. Uh, I think the process was poorly done. I would have loved for them to really take it a bit more seriously and look at a wider variety of candidates. Maybe a guy like Brian Flores. Maybe wait a week for Aaron Glenn, because he really probably denied it due to, one, the fact that he knew it was going to be Vrabel, like we all did. And 2, the fact that his interview schedule is packed. He already had 5 virtual interviews scheduled with other teams. So those are 2 more candidates that they should have had more contact with, but instead they just went with Vrabel, kind of as we expected to.
Yeah, and while you were talking about that, I was just starting to piece together some potential prospects to join the Patriots as part of Mike Vrabel's coaching staff. Some coaches who spent some time with the Patriots, maybe with Vrabel, and just moving on, kind of talking about this next layer that has to unfold here is Mike Vrabel has to now assemble a coaching staff that is largely intact from last season. The only coach who left was Jerome Mayo, right? Now there was a report that defensive line assistant coach Keith Jones is leaving for App State, I think it was.
Yep.
But other
Yeah,
than
it was.
that, yeah, okay. Other than that, the coaching staff is the same. So the next thing that has to happen is what happens with these coaches. Some guys to keep an eye on, for me at least, is Dean Pease. What a
Mhm.
throwback. Dean Pease. Zach, I think I'm too young for him. We're the same age, so I'm guessing that you are too young for him. But
Yeah.
he was the defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans in 2018 to 2019 under Vrabel. and he served as the Patriots linebackers coach under Bill Belichick in 2004 and 2005, and was the
Coach
Patriots
Vrabel.
defensive coordinator in 2006 and 2009. And now he is with the Baltimore Ravens as a senior advisor to defensive coordinator for the Ravens in Baltimore. And that is someone who first crossed my mind as someone who's worked with the Patriots, someone who's worked with Vrabel, right? Who could come back. But I'm starting to only look at the defensive side of the football because DeMarcus Covington, the Patriots coordinator, is probably headed out elsewhere. He's already interviewed with the Cincinnati Bengals. The defense took a step back in pretty much every single which way you look this season. I would expect, as of now, Alex Van Pelt to stay. I feel like if they were that unhappy with the offensive performance, T.C. McCartney, Alex Van Pelt, they would have fired them when they fired Mayo, and that was not the case.
I think that the reason behind that is, other than with the head coach, Kraft isn't going to be stepping in with the construction of the coaching staff. So Van Pelt could very well be fired in 2 days. But my guess is that he wanted to keep him around at least for this long, just in case Mike Vrabel comes in or Ben Johnson comes in, or obviously it ended up being Vrabel, but whoever the next head coach would be comes in and they say, oh yeah, Van Pelt, I like that guy. I think he did a really good job. I want to keep him around. But if that head coach doesn't think that, then there's really no difference between firing Van Pelt with Mayo and firing him a week after Mayo. So I think that that's just what it kind of chalks up to, is they want to wait and see if Vrabel wants to keep some of these guys around, or if he wants to just bring in an entirely new staff. And I think it'll be somewhat of a mix. My best guess is that Josh McDaniels is going to be the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots for 2025. That's really what all the reports have been, and what it seems to be shaping up to be. But maybe McDaniels wants to keep Van Pelt around as a offensive assistant or as a quarterbacks coach. And maybe he wants to keep around some of the other positional coaches as their position coach. So it could go really either way. I could see it being a completely new staff outside of maybe a couple guys, or I could see a somewhat significant part of the coaching staff being retained.
Yeah. And it's important to note too, Jerod Mayo hired a bunch of coaches, rookie coaches and experienced coaches, and all these coaches start summer, right? It's not a knock on any of them, but some of these they're just so young, right? Tyquan Underwood, the assistant wide receivers coach, is pretty young, pretty inexperienced. Scott Peters, the offensive,
he has kind of a lot of he's been coaching
as
for a while,
a player, but
yeah,
not as much. If you look around the league at other wide receivers coaches, they're pretty. I mean, they're pretty more experienced.
Sure. As an assistant,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't. We
I'm
could
just
keep moving. That doesn't matter.
Off my head. Just some of these coaches, and then you have some of these coaches who are really experienced, like Ben McAdoo, right? But they had no ties to the Patriots organization, and I feel like when you're bringing all these different people in, it caused a little chaos almost within the Patriots organization.
Yeah.
Moving on just a little bit here. Staff has to be assembled. What happens to the front office? My take right now is Elliott Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith, at least both of them, are staying around with the Patriots, like we said last week, until the draft season kind of leaves us and then behind us in May or June. But most of the draft work is already getting done. Some of it's already been completed, right? The Hula Bowl was last week. The Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine Bowl, the Combine, Pro Days, all that stuff is coming up in the next 2 months. So I think they will stay along for the ride. Zach?
Yeah, that's kind of, in my opinion, the most interesting thing with the Vrabel hiring. It isn't, for me, the coaching staff that's going to be assembled, it's what's gonna happen with the front office, because it seemed pretty clear, in my opinion, that, Robert Kraft wanted to keep around Elliott Wolf, wanted to keep around, Alonzo Highsmith. I mean, they were in the head coaching interviews according to Kraft. So Vrabel's a guy who likely wants full control or close to it. Are the Patriots going to allow for that? I'm not sure. I would find it kind of hard to believe that Elliott Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith would, obviously Kraft has final say, but that they would be pushing for Vrabel if they knew Vrabel's going to fire them in 4 months. So that's something that's on my radar a little bit more. Will Vrabel bring in some of his own guys in the front office? Probably. Uh, but with that, how many of the Patriots guys are going to be let go after the draft? I think the front office should, for the most part, stay the same. They really didn't have much this year. Like, free agency wasn't a great class. I know a lot of fans give the Patriots front office and Elliott Wolf a lot of crap for not making any like splash signings, but I mean they offered Calvin Ridley 21 million a year, I think it was, who look how that turned out for the Titans. He was not that good this year. They offered the 49ers a pretty significant trade package, if I remember correctly, for Brandon Ayuk, and offered Ayuk to become one of the highest paid wide receivers in NFL history, and that was just out of their control. It it takes two sides to make a deal. That's something that we've known for a while, and that was especially significant this year, is that you can't just be mad at a front office because they didn't get make signings if they were, as kind of corny as it may sound, they're trying their best to. Everything that happened, or I guess everything that didn't happen, was out of their control. They can't force players to sign these contracts. They can try their best and they can make the best offer out of any team, but if a player doesn't want to come to New England because of what had happened in the previous years, then there's nothing that the front office can do about it. So I think giving them another year where the Patriots are a more uh, preferable destination than they were last year, due to largely Drake May, and likely due to Mike Vrabel as well. I think a lot of players would want to play under him. It's it seems more fair to give them another year. And look, if it doesn't work out, then you cut ties with them, and now Mike Vrabel has the control that maybe he wants. Mike Vrabel can go out, he can hire his guy. But until we see them really have a bad offseason where it's more so their fault rather than the one that we just saw, then they should probably stick around.
Yeah. And I believe that Josh McCann, right, before we move on just a little bit, adding on, Mike Vrabel is a defensive minded coach, right? He
Yes.
is probably not going to call the offense. Most
Mhm.
coaches these days are calling the offense. He is probably not going to call the offense, right? So Josh McDaniels, I want to bring up as a name that the Patriots could potentially bring back. Someone who is pretty polarized in New England. You kind of either love him or hate him. There's not a whole lot of middle ground here, but McDaniels obviously worked with the Patriots for a while, helped develop Mac Jones into a great rookie season, right? Not
Yeah.
so much after that, but
Well, because
that
he
20
left, because McDaniels left after
well,
that.
yeah, and Mac Jones, look what happened to Mac Jones when
Yeah,
McDaniels left,
exactly.
Like, right now, you have a quarterback. Most teams don't have a quarterback, right? We've mentioned
Yep.
you have Drake May, you have that piece, and you also have him under a rookie contract. So it is invaluable to get him with someone really, really, what's the right word? Intelligent, but also
Yeah.
just like someone who's not going to mess him up, to put it frankly.
Mhm.
Like he's already
Yeah.
on a great trajectory, and if you give Drake May another coach, another whole coaching staff, right? He already has all these
Mhm.
coaches. You give him something else, to showing him something else, mechanics this, like do this, and it's already becoming a lot. So that's
Yep.
kind of why I wanted most of these offensive coaches staying where they were. But I do really like Josh McDaniels as a candidate to bring in. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said a couple days ago that there's significant buzz. McDaniels could return to the Patriots. We saw what he did in 2020 with Cam Newton too. Newton's one of those, really agile, mobile quarterbacks. And Drake May's kind of like that, right? At the end of the season, you kind of saw him running. Most of it was just avoiding sacks, but
Yeah.
what could happen if you turn Drake May into someone kind of like Josh Allen, right? With these
Mhm.
design quarterback runs that Josh McDaniels gave Cam Newton in 2020. Again, I think it shouldn't just be like a hire. You got to go through the interview process. You should interview candidates. You should really list out the pros and cons of each one. But Josh McDaniels is someone who I could be very excited about returning to the Patriots.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels is a quarterback guru. There is no way to spin that. He knows how to develop quarterbacks, how to eh, work with quarterbacks. Uh, that is one of the things that he is best at, and that's going to be great for the development of Drake May. I mean, Ben, as you said, he turned Mac Jones into a Pro Bowler. And then as soon as McDaniels left, and
Really,
I know,
really quick, really
yep,
quick, really quick. Mac Jones is going on to his 5th NFL season.
yeah,
Isn't that sorry? I didn't mean to.
it's crazy.
I just learned about that yesterday. I keep going.
Yeah. Um, but look, he turned Mac Jones into a Pro Bowler, and maybe a part of the Mac Jones failure can be blamed on the uh incompetence of his next offensive coordinators after Josh McDaniels, but I think a large part of his success is the fact that he had McDaniels in that rookie year, and that, in my opinion, that can't be undermined. So bringing in McDaniels will very much so help Drake May reach the high ceiling that we all know he has,
The promised land.
the promised land. But another thing that I know it's been talked about a little bit, but I do think that it is maybe worth talking about even more is if you were I'm going to say this knowing that Ben Johnson was my number one candidate. I did like him more than Vrabel, but if you were to bring in Ben Johnson and whoever he brings in as offensive coordinator has success, as they should, and develops Drake May into, let's say, a Pro Bowler or close to it, as that's the type of caliber that he should be able to get to, right? Let's say Ben Johnson's offensive coordinator does that. That offensive coordinator is going to be gone within 2 years. He's going to be a head coach very quickly. And then the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy, the same thing's going to keep happening. I would not have been surprised if the Patriots were to hire Ben Johnson. I would not have been surprised to see them have 3 offensive coordinators in 5 years, just based on those guys getting hired by other places as head coaches. Again, if Ben Johnson uh, and the Patriots offense had the success that I think that they would have been able to. With Josh McDaniels, that's not happening. Josh McDaniels is not going anywhere. with all due respect, no team is hiring him as a head coach anytime soon. He has gotten those opportunities. He has not looked great when those have happened. With McDaniels, you are looking at him, again, assuming their success, him being your offensive coordinator for at least 5 years and more than likely a greater time period than that. So that is one huge pro of hiring McDaniels, in my opinion, is just the fact that you're going to have some continuity there year in and year out. You know that he is going to be your offensive coordinator for a pretty long time. Ben, would you prefer a guy like McDaniels who's been in the building, or are there other options that you think they should explore?
Yeah, there will be other options that I think they should come across, but Josh McDaniels right now is the top, for me at least. Some other guys to keep a name on, I have in front of me is Todd Downing. He was Vrabel's tight ends coach in 2019 and the Titans offensive coordinator in 2021 to 2022. And then he was fired after that 2023 season along with Vrabel and went to the Jets, became their passing coordinator for one season. But that's someone I want to keep an eye on. Also, Tom Quinn, but not for the offensive side of the football, special teams, right?
Yep.
And I really do like Jeremy Springer, just someone who has another connection with Vrabel, obviously in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think they stay. I think they both stay in the same position. I think Springer stays as special teams coordinator, and I think that Tom Quinn stay. What's his official title? Is it just like assistant special teams
Yeah,
coordinate? Yeah, I
yeah.
think they'll stay in those same positions. My guess is that Tom Quinn would get Vrabel. I think would want to keep Tom Quinn around, and I think Tom Quinn would vouch for Springer a bit to stay in his role because special teams was was by far the Patriots' best unit this year.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
and there were definitely some bad moments. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't perfect, but this team was far from perfect, and the special teams unit was closer to that than any other unit that the Patriots had. So I think Springer stays around. I hope Springer stays around because he was by far the Patriots' best coordinator.
Someone else I want to throw out is Wes Welker, someone who was
Mhm.
just released by the Dolphins, right? He overlapped with Vrabel in that 2007 season. He also overlapped when Vrabel was on the Texans coaching staff in 2017. Um, so that is someone, again, who I want to look for. I mean,
Yeah.
Miami has a little more weapons on the offensive side of football, and they didn't produce as much. They had Jalen Waddle, they have Tyreek Hill, right? But I mean, bringing Welker back could be a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
And
if
it
you're a Patriot.
seemed now I don't honestly, obviously, I don't really know much about the Dolphins coaching staff and how well everybody was at their job, but listening to Dolphins fans over the week, it seemed like Wes Welker was kind of a scapegoat for this poor season. Uh, I believe they fired one other person, maybe their defensive coordinator, special teams I think special teams coordinator. Uh, and the fan reactions seem to be, "Oh, thank God this special teams guy is gone," and really nothing, no comments that I saw at least against Wes Welker. So I think he was a bit of a scapegoat for the poor season and for what happened at the end of the year with Tyreek Hill. Um, I would not be surprised to see him in New England. I think that he would be either the wide receivers coach or uh passing game coordinator, something along those lines, working more closely with Josh McDaniels. So that's that's where I'm at with Welker. I think he'll be a Patriot again within, a week or two.
Yeah, and before we wrap up here, if anyone has any questions they would like to put in the chat,
Yep.
please send them away as we wrap up kind of soon in this emergency pod for Mike Vrabel becoming the new head coach of the New England Patriots. So we talked about the assistant coaches they bring on. We talked about the front office. The other thing to look forward to now is the draft, right? And Mike Vrabel now has to, get right to looking at the Patriots' needs, looking to what they need on offense, looking to what they need on defense. What are your three biggest needs right now in the draft, position-wise, for the Patriots this upcoming offseason?
That's tough because it's basically all of them. But three biggest, and it's also like we don't know what they're going to do in free agency, but with the draft, I'd say edge rusher, more than likely, and I guess hopefully that'll end up being Abdul Carter. Then I'd go receiver and tackle. And I don't know if those are really positions that they should necessarily attack in the draft, because it's those have really not been positions that they're great at developing, but it's also a new coaching staff, so who really knows with that? Um, I think that they should spend a lot of money on especially tackle and wide receiver in free agency, and then be able to go into the draft pretty much just needing the an edge rusher or maybe two, and then being able to just have the freedom of best player available, because I would say that outside of quarterback, the Patriots could use more talent at every single position. And maybe you could make an argument that they don't need another safety, depending on how much you like Del Pettis. Um, but I mean, if you look at it, right, running back, Ramondre didn't have a great season. I like Gibson, but maybe they could use a number 3 or a better number 1. Uh, Tight end, Hooper could be gone. They could use a number 2, I would say. Offensive line, we all know what's happening there. Wide receiver, we all know what's happening there. D-line, the pass rush was not there this year. It was incredibly poor. How little that pass rush produced this season. Look at the cornerbacks, they could use a number 2, again, depending on how much you like Alex Austin. Safeties, as I said, they it depends on how much you like Del Pettis. I would say they could use another one, though. Linebackers, uh, had another, relatively poor season, so, again, that is every position other than quarterback, and
Yeah, I
obviously
asked for three. You just named like every single one.
I know. Well, again, the top 3 are edge rusher, tackle, receiver, not necessarily in that order. But I would like to see them address tackle and receiver in free agency more than any other position. So again, they have that freedom to likely take Abdul Carter in the first round, and then after that, just take anybody because that's what they need. They need anybody. It's it's bad what this roster is. Um, they could also use Ben, I was texting you a little bit about this on Friday night. Uh, they could use some culture guys, right? Some it's a new regime. They need locker room guys who are going to kind of put in this new culture, this new mindset. Uh if they can find a guy like that in the draft, like Jack Sawyer, potentially trading back up into the first round, or if he falls to them in the second round, uh, that is invaluable. That is more significant potentially what they can do off the field for this locker room with a completely new staff than what they could do on the field, because the Patriots are going to need some leaders. And if you can draft a guy like that and have him grow, not grow up, it's a grown man, but I guess grow in New England, that is very significant.
Yeah. And those are all good points. And we'll wrap up here by saying that Mike Vrabel will be introduced as the 16th franchise head coach tomorrow at noon. There will be a press conference. Robert Kraft will give an opening statement, kind of what we just saw. And then the ball is going to get rolling, and Vrabel is going to be New England, and everything we just talked about will start coming to fruition. So I want to thank everyone for listening, for tuning in. It is a Sunday morning. We got 3 games of football on today. Playoff Sunday, so I guess I'll give my quick picks, and then I'll let Zach pick as well. I got the Bills beating the Broncos. I'll go. I just put myself on the spot and hadn't even thought of a score. I'm gonna go 24-20. 24-20.
like that.
I think it's gonna be a kind of close game, but the Bills are gonna eventually pull away at the end. 24-20 for me. And then I have the Eagles beating the Packers. I got that 27-17. 27-17. I think it's going to be a 10-point game for Philadelphia. And then I got the Washington Commanders upsetting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as 3-point underdogs in Tampa Bay. I got Washington coming on top. The whole season has been about miracles in Washington. I have them winning on a game-winning field goal, 20.
At least make it like a Hail Mary, lateral play, something. Give me something fun.
2017 game-winning field goal.
Okay.
Who says game-winning field goals aren't fun? I mean, it's a game-winning
Yeah,
field goal.
You're right. Ben, did you see the stat on Twitter about Sean Payton against bald head coaches?
Yes,
that is so funny.
You can find a stat on anything.
That's true. Sean Payton, according to this Twitter user, is 30-12 against bald head coaches, and Sean McDermott is bald. So I still don't think the Broncos will win, but I thought that was a hilarious stat. I'll take the Bills. I think the Bills are gonna put up a lot of points. I think. Give me 33-20 Bills. And that was Eagles Packers, right? I'll take 27-24 Eagles. And Tampa, Washington is tough.
It's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I don't want to pick all of the favorites, but I think I might have to, because I like Tampa. I like I'll go Washington. I'll go with you, Ben. Give me 20-24 Washington.
Perfect. Okay. Well, with that, be sure to subscribe and to follow Patsnation Nightly on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow the Patriots Beat. Follow along for Patriots coverage at thepatriotsbeat.com. You can find Zach at pats.today on basically everything, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. And with that being said, thank you guys for listening. And until next time.
See you guys.